Hi, Ibi,
Hi, Costa.
and welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Gene Keys, a playful exploration into this beautiful teaching. Um, yeah, we chose the 44th Gene Key to explore and discover and contemplate and see what comes from this dialogue and conversation. So the shadow of this stems from interference, the frequency of interference to the city of Synarchy, and then in between the bridge that connects the two is teamwork. And as a reminder, this is every part of this frequency is involved in one and the other. So we have the city in the shadow, we have the gift in the city, or we have the shadow, the gift and the shadow, they come together until it elevates until we get to the city. And and yeah, just sort of starting off, um, I would want to ask you, Ibi, as well, if in terms of this gene key, since you're also working in this environment, both collectively and personally, with the gene keys, like what do you, or even just personally in your life, what do you find the shadow of interference, like how does that relate to you? And exploring the depths of how teamwork can help overcome that. I'm just curious to know how you would see that play out in your life.
Yes, welcome everyone. First of all, it's very fascinating key. This 44, like all the master keys, master numbers, like 11, 22, 33, 44, 55. And for me, the 44 has direct connection in my chart as the programming partner is Jinky 24, which is my core wound. And the 44 is making also the ring of Illuminati with Jinky 50, which is my attractor field. And I was contemplating a lot, especially the shadow patterns were appearing while I worked in the corporate world a lot. And interference is actually something that stays in the way of divine order. If the highest frequency of the 44 is Synarchy, which is the, the cosmic order, the divine order of all things, where each being is having a certain place, a unique place, and we are leading together. It's the highest form of um, organizing humanity, and not just humanity, but the whole universe, where each of us are unique and having a certain place, a certain role in the tapestry of the whole. But interference is when we either try to fit into a fractal that is not ours, into a place or a group which is not mm, recognizing us. That was my case. I was working in different roles, but sometimes I was in a company or a group where values were not the same. So, where the business part, for example, was oriented very much towards sales or looking for constant growth and increasing the profit all the time, which then maybe compromised the well-being of the employees or the relationships with the clients or the relationship between people working there. And it's interesting because the Jinky 44 is called karmic relationships. So we coming to meet is the I Ching name of this hexagram. And coming to meet, we are all, yes, we are not randomly meet each other in this life. We meet based on some karmic relationships, ancient relationships, and we come to perfect them, to heal them, and to yes, overcome or transcend those patterns of interference that are coming from fear or control or need for power or I don't know, reaction patterns. And yes, one good example for me is I was when I was not in the right place or not fulfilling my purpose. Sometimes I was speaking and nobody was hearing me, or I felt like almost giving stupid or being perceived as giving responses that were not heard, not really received. And that's one pattern of interference I noticed. Interference is actually something that interferes with the brain waves and is blocking them. So your genius, my genius, was not able to come into the light and be expressed because it was not a recognition of the qualities I was here to bring in
Yeah, thanks,
that
Ibi.
situation.
It's
How
also
about
interesting when
you?
when I hear you speak, it's funny, like the interference, if you play on the words into fear, right? Like go
Interfere,
into the
exactly.
fear,
Yes.
right? And then, and so, like you said, there's some ways for giving into the fear by not allowing the trust of life to flow naturally to where it needs to go because we're either not listening or we're thinking we need to control something. Um, that is not coherent to the dynamics at play, like you say, with your corporate previous lifestyle. And it's also funny because if that also happens, like I've seen it on my end, if I stay to that, what happens is I end up caving and the interference more like I'm not willing to go out, so I can stay in a place of isolation, or then that leads to like other shadows that can happen, like stagnant, being stuck. And so when I hear you say also common relationships at play from maybe previous lifetimes.
We lost Costa. And hopefully he will come back. So I will just pause. We are
So
back.
apologies for the pause, the interference. But just to recap with what I was saying, when we go in instances with karmic relationships from our past, um, they're also there to teach us a lesson because it's in those frequency patterns that there is something to be learned or unlearned. So they will keep repeating until we move on from them. And sometimes we may try and escape from them. Others, sometimes it's best to sit with it and then realize yourself when you find your own power and purpose that you can then change it. And so teamwork, because it's also related to the Gene Key 50, which is about harmony and equanimity. So it's seeing that in the whole, um, we are all unified. So we need the diversity, we need the difference because that's what connects us. And because each gene key is also connected to an organ or a part in somewhere in the body, the physiology of the body. This one's connected to the immune system. And again, we can play with the words here of immunity is I am unity. And I don't see that as any coincidence because that is part of being able to see the differences and how they can all flow in the right direction. And because sometimes we need time, this is also why in relationships we also need to be patient with others and specifically with ourselves because we have our own inner voices that come up that can also be seen as interference because we have the voice of ego coming through and saying, no, Costa or Ibi, don't do this, do that. And that is interference. So we just say, okay, it's there, we keep it there, and we allow it to be there. And then with time, we can embrace it. So yeah, there's a lot I could speak about this, this gene key. And I guess my question for you, Ibi, is what's what comes out of that? What How do you operate in teams? Do you like it to be um, do you see the transformations happen? Like, have you seen a transformation happen with you from leaving the corporate world to where you are now? And even with this work and the Gene Keys, have you seen changes to where you would have done previously to now realizing when I shift gear into this idea of teamwork and working with something that something gives way. I'm just for us
Yes.
and for the audience
Thank
to
you
know
for
about you.
that question. That is a very rich and inviting field for me. I have in my culture line one. So I am supposed to work in a way as an individual, as an entrepreneur. And it's interesting for me was kind of mystery. How do I integrate in the community with a line one in my culture and also having all those six line keeping me on the roof and outside of the interaction with people. And my experience was very interesting, and it's very much related to this 44. I like the name of Jinky 44, coming to meet. For me, the highest frequency from the gift and the CD is actually coming to meet from genius to genius. And this is the foundation of the Synarchy. When we are seeing each other in the qualities, in the unique qualities we each have, and each of us is coming to meet the other from this complete ownership. Like I am an enterprise and I'm fully responsible to be at my highest possible level. But I am also recognized for the qualities that are truly unique to me, for my purpose, for my vocation, for all those qualities I am bringing naturally, effortlessly into a group or into the world. So what I realized was that for me, as with the line one in my culture, was not working to work in a group where it was about deciding, changing something. So the best I work in my own creative field so I can create something which I deliver as a product, as a something which is finished, and then I can give that to others and they can use it, change it, or do whatever is best. But I need to follow my creative impulse and to be fully responsible of the idea. So that's how what I discovered from my chart. And also, I discovered that when I was truly committed to being myself and to honor this design and not trying to be first line, second line, to be in a partnership, to be in a small group, to create a network. I very much a long time I was in a kind of not self area and transference area because I saw everyone around me creating communities, creating its own tribe, and nurturing and cultivating. And it was very unnatural for me when I tried to do that. And I was frustrated and I was judging myself that I'm not good, that I'm not committed enough, that I'm not, I cannot stay with something. And actually, when I I started honoring my design, and I was saying from the beginning, this is what I do best. I can capture, anticipate, because in the culture I have the 41 1. I can anticipate, I can connect to these fields that are not even in a shape or in a form, but I just can pick up something that's coming from the collective, that something that is starting, and I can create. I can create something based on that, and then that creation contains the highest frequency I can be, and based on the results and based on the truth that was coming from me saying that and standing up for this design, everything changed around me. People started to recognize that quality, that frequency that was coming only when I could do according to my design, when I could create that. And even if it was uncomfortable when I was saying no, or I was saying I need these conditions in order to be at my highest potential, um, something was transmitted and something was kept clean, and it was no room for interference for myself, first of all, because when I was compromising this, what I was feeling, my genius, so knowing the way my genius works and in what conditions, and informing, communicating clearly. This 44 is also can bring interference when you are not communicating clearly, when you are not saying the whole truth. And I was doing in the past this, and then people would hear what I was saying mixed up, not clear messages, and they were interpreting distorted that I was someone who I was not. And they were treating me at that level. And that was not my highest level. And I couldn't function according to my genius. So that is something that really changed for me.
Nice. There's also, when you mentioned the coming to meet and you're saying it's into your genius, I can also see it being flipped in reverse. So it's you're coming to meet to your shadows, to you're coming to meet in fear, and then the genius is the transformation of that. right? It's the transformation of you realizing that you were not being um, your highest potential expressed, so then they would be feeling the distortion or interference at play. But when you're coming through and you say, okay, I'm prepared to meet this test, to meet this shadow, and then I can play with it. Then when it happens in your culture, or even anyone's culture, culture here we talk about being your working culture for those who are new to the Gene Keys. And yeah, because I have the same thing. I also have I'm an entrepreneur, so I like to have the idea as a seed. But I realize for me to realize that seed, it has to come from a place of purity and has to come from a deep place of having reflected and having introspection, or just something that's come through and it's like, oh, this is just right. I have to follow it through. And then you find that the people who want to work with you are there because they're part of the team. And and then you, in whatever way and shape and form, it starts to realize itself. But it will realize itself because it's coming from a firm place of security that's been either you can feel it deep within you, or it's because you've worked through your shadows to say, I can take on anything because I'm prepared to churn the soil into fertile ground for something to grow in. So you're literally planting the idea of a seed for it to manifest, and the team players that will come through will just naturally arise because they can feel that optimism. You know, they can feel that potential arising from the entrepreneurial spirit. And that's what then leads to harmony, right? Because you're seeing these different moving parts at play, and it can be quite a nice adventure. So yeah, teamwork, 44, um, and I guess then Synarchy is the future of the seed, right? Of the vision of where the seed will take. And I'm also like, I don't know, I've been exploring the like different companies, and one company that got my attention was Toyota, the company Toyota. They're like the biggest manufacturing company in the world, or one of the biggest, at least in its time. And they have always been able to succeed under the most strenuous, challenging circumstances. And it was asked, well, why? How are you guys doing it? Because they never looked at the short-term view saying we're looking for profits. They always looked at the philosophical long-term view of how can we benefit and bring value to society. That was always the number one aim. And we realized that whatever parts that were fit into the assembly line, if there was wastage, meaning people were sitting idly or they didn't know what to do with them because other parts weren't functioning as part of the team, they were happily to create a flow so that there would be more challenges to arise, but then they'll be able to fix them. And they're saying there's never an end. We're always continuously improving something. And what really struck me was the fact that when they were going through challenging times like COVID, most other competitors were either requesting assistance or letting go of employees. Not saying they're the only one, but as a big company, they literally held on to all their employees and upskilled them to work on different components for different models of company, of a different model of a car. And when they left, when they reopened again within 3 months, they felt all the more reason to want to stay within the company because they felt valued. And there was a feeling of teamwork because it wasn't like you do the orders. They were required to think on their feet. So they
Mm.
were using new thoughts and creativity to bring about change. And they're realizing let's embrace the change. So when I'm reading it, even as a manual, it's coming to life because you can feel the human component. It's not just something mechanical. They're using something mechanical with intuition and they're applying the two. I'm like, that's genius. It's like the best of both worlds. So anyway, that's just another form of teamwork I saw come up to saying, look, we want to help society by everyone with their cars. And you know, since the days of World War II. I found it was a great case study to show how Cheeky 44 can come and play a pivotal role in society.
Yes, and it's
So yeah,
interesting that you brought this example. It's very relevant for the 44. The immune system um, actually contains the those parts of fear. So when there is no fear, the immune system is perfectly able to um, work out and to fight with any interference from the environment and to find a solution and to keep the organism healthy. And this is what I see in what you said. This company worked like an organism, and whatever was coming from outside, the strong immune system was able to work it out through the challenge and through the change because they had um, this teamwork, this synergy between different groups, components, or people, groups of people, and parts of the organism. But it's interesting that the any organism is able to thrive when it's it is working in divine order, in the cosmic order of the Jinki 50, and not being corrupted by this greed or the drive for constant profit, because this is the business world, and having all the cells in mind, being human centric. Often these days, companies, businesses, and even ways of collaborating are having this profit or this yes, maybe even power or fame or something at the core, and not a healthy organism that can self-organize itself. And Synarchy is actually the highest um, way and geometry in which the universe is organizing itself. Is a self-organizing principle. And our bodies are working in the same way. And the nature is working in the same way, self-organizing and regulating those parts that are needing help. And also during the pandemic, the 44 was directly affected because the 44 is the capacity to smell your fractal, is the physical smelling your, is not the physical sense of the smell, but is this ability to smell the fractal, which is able to recognize you as part of the team. And I just wanted to bring, like, how do you recognize you are in the right place, and how teamwork is feeling through this feeling of easiness, being seen, being valued, being supported, being able to um, look for you thriving, and also the synergy with the whole, with the group. Everything is connected in a harmonious way. Is not harsh, is not, you don't feel the hierarchy, right? The dilemma of this key is hierarchy. So you don't feel there is someone coming and telling you what to do, or you are highly limited. Is this fluidity between even the levels, because even in Synarchy, you need a kind of hierarchy or heterarchy, but you don't feel the levels. Everyone is is equal in the spirit, in that purity of the quality that is bringing in whatever role is.
Yeah, the equal in opportunity, right? Like
And potential.
you're all starting the same and potential, yeah. So the choice is yours, whether you're conscious of that or not. And same with Synarchy, it's like I see also like the embodiment of the values or the divine order. And the order is in some ways being embodying the laws behind the cosmos. And because you're adhering to them, therefore you're in your ultimate work. And that can also be seen as the blueprint of any business or individual in their DNA. They say, look, we want to tap into those divine values, those divine laws, and emanate them out into our world. And so when we're doing that on a personal level or we're doing in business, it will be felt by others. They will feel it in the aura. And and yeah, so it's like to know that there's never nothing is set in stone. We have the choice every day to make these changes. And these opportunities are all around us at all times. So wherever you are, and no matter what the circumstances, they can come alive as you take the the bold step to say, look, I want to make a change, and I'm looking to filter out these interferences, let them come up, but then work towards clearing them or using that motivation. That then we start to have fun, and things come alive in that space.
Yes, that's
Great,
exactly.
Ibi. Any last words? Or
Yes, maybe just
sorry.
exactly what you said. Uh, don't forget that when we come in a group, the first things that are popping up and becoming very clear are the distortions and the wounds, and that will play out all the time first to be cleaned, to be cleared. So just recognizing and being aware of those patterns of interference and working through them through ownership, emotional maturity, and gentleness, right? Kindness and patience, and just I remember that and I don't remember where, but I remember that Richard was saying that one quality that is at the foundation of Synarchy is devotion. So even if you come into a group and you see all this playing out, you stay committed because there are higher values that brought you there. You came to meet because there is something for you to fulfill higher, and you stay in devotion there, then definitely you will find your place, the right place where your genius will be valued and seen. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Tippy.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Costa.
everyone. Until
Mm.
next time. One thing, leave your comments if you got any questions, insights, or things you want to know of. Feel free. We'll pick them up and use that as a base to bring out to our next couple sessions moving forward.
Yes, lots of love, everyone. Bye.